So today I'm gonna show you how to fix a cracked bumper. This is an easy method that works for me pretty good. I did a couple bumpers like this with no problem. So the first thing that I do when the bumpers crack, I weld it using a soldering gun like this one. So I weld it together on the outside. Then I managed to go behind the bumper, taking this piece off, and also weld it in the inside. And I'm gonna put some fiberglass in the inside, and then in the outside, and then work my way through there. So stay tuned. So here I mixed it, the fiberglass. Once you mix it, you got a couple, maybe a minute or so to work on it. So I'm gonna be quick and just put it over a little over the effector area here. Just gonna be quick with it. Then I'll work my way the inside. You know, right there. It's gonna look rough, but let me put down some on the inside, so I'll see you in a minute. So I put a thin layer of fiberglass on the outside of the bumper. As you can see, this is thin layer fiberglass. It's not completely fiberglass, but it does have hairs in it, so it's hard. You know, it's pretty hard to work with. And yeah, you'll see the finished product once I'm done. Meanwhile, the fiberglass dries. I'm gonna start taking the bumper up. So this is the best way that I know how to take it. So now I'm gonna mask this black fuser. The way I like to do it, I like to roll the mask paper. I like to roll it down here. Then this is an 1.5 inch 3M tape. I think this is the fastest technique for me. You use whatever technique you prefer, but this is the one that I like the best. Now I'm ready for sanding. So I'm gonna use my DA. I'm gonna start off with 80 grit for that part. So this is my 80 grit right here. I'm gonna use it with the DA here right that I have. I don't want any of the debris to fall on my mat, so. Wish I was plugged. So what I really want to do here is with the DA, I want to get like the hardest part, try to feather out this area. I'm gonna keep on feathering out, but as you can see, this part here is hard to get with the DA. I basically want like the hardest part, like knocking it down with DA, but I'm gonna use a block to be able to make this smoother before applying my glaze. So once I do it by hand, I'll come back so you can guys take a look. But this is the part how it's looking right now. So just give me a few seconds, stay tuned to see the final product. So I'm using a sanding block with 80 grit. I'm just using long strokes on it, try to keep it flat as possible. So this is basically how it looks after blocking it. I took it down pretty much flat, but now I want to wipe it up clean using some wax and grease. In this case, I have the DX440 from PPG. I'll be wiping it clean. I want to glaze it, and then I want to glaze this other spots to be able to sand down later when I refinish this bumper. But this is how it looks for now. So make sure you really clean the area that you're going to be putting the body filler. Really clean so it could stick to the bumper and not to the dust. So basically I'm cleaning the bumper real good, like I said before, with wax and grease. I'm gonna let it dry. Then I'm gonna apply adhesive promoter on the area, and then I'm gonna put the body filler over top of the fiberglass, and I'm gonna put body filler right here to sand down with 180 grit. Stay tuned. So make sure it's completely dry before applying the body filler. I'm using a beat up heat gun that still works. It's up pretty good still. So here I got my body filler. I'm just gonna put a little bit of the hardener, not that much. And I'm gonna mix it up. And I like to keep it nice and thin in my mixing board so it won't get too much hard too quickly. So make sure you mix it pretty good. And you gotta work really fast with this once you mix it. So like I said, I like to spread it so the heat will spread through my board and takes less time for it to cure. I'm just gonna grab a little bit, and I'm gonna start on the bottom and push my way up. And I'm gonna start right here. Same thing. I'm not too worried about the bottom right there because that will get cut off and sand it down. And I like to use the body line of this bumper right here to do my transition. Make sure you feather out the edges so you could sand less. So just don't try to cover it all at once. It takes a few so it's starting to get hard on me right now, but this is just my first pass, so I'm good. Now we will wait for that to dry, and then I'm gonna try to use 180 grit. Remember, we use 80 grit for the roughest part, which was the fiberglass, but now this is way thinner right now, so we can try with 180 and then keep working our way up to 280, 320, 400, and then we're gonna prime it. So stay tuned to see the process of how I fix this crack bumper. So after a couple minutes, when it gets hard, we're gonna start doing our sanding. I'm gonna use my DA again, and this time I'm gonna be using 180 grit. So basically I want to keep it as flat as possible. What the hell, who disconnected my shit? After a few minutes, when the body filler gets hard enough, I'm gonna start doing my sanding with my DA. This time I'm using 180 grit. So the way I like to do it, I like to start my sander right here. So I'm basically going to continue to sand it with DA. It's going to take me a while. I'm using 180 grit. I really don't want to bring it down any more than that. I want to work my way up. So I'm going to take my time with 180, so then I could do the 220, 320, and you know, work my way up. I'm going to keep on with the DA and then do a little bit with the block. And I'll show you how it looks when I'm done with that part. So I'm basically gonna go with 220 now, with the DA. I already did 180. Done with the 220, so I'm gonna do 220 again with the block, do 320 with the block, continue to do 400 with the block. Then I'm gonna proceed to put some adhesive promoter and prime that affected area. So stay tuned. This is how I repair my bumpers. So after I did the 180 grit, the 220 grit, the 320 grit, the 400 grit, this is basically the way it looks right now. If you can see, I went up with the 400 grit around this area here. That's basically, I don't want to go too much to the corner, because once I paint this rear bumper, I'm going to make sure that I blend around here somewhere. So when I clear, I'm gonna clear the whole bumper, but I don't wanna touch the rest of the panel that way, so it will match pretty good to factory, just in case the paint don't match. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna proceed to scuff the bumper with this Scotch-Brite. I'm gonna scuff it all the way to this corner here, scuff the whole bumper down to that corner there, and I'm gonna proceed then to blow it off, clean it off, wax and grease, and I'm gonna prime it, maybe up to like around here somewhere. So yeah, keep tuned so you can see the finished product. Yep, this is how it's turning out right now. So after I scuffed and cleaned the bumper prior to now that I'm gonna prime, as you can see, the bumper is not as shiny because I already scuffed it all. You don't want it to be shiny because then you don't have anywhere where the primer or the paint is gonna stick to. So please make sure you prep the bumper good. If not, you're gonna have that flaky paint coming off in a couple months or maybe a year, and it won't be a nice experience for you. I'm not a professional painter, but I definitely, you know, learn by myself, and I think I do a pretty good job. So now I'm gonna proceed after I cleaned it. I'm gonna make sure I heat up the bumper a little bit, make sure it's dry. Again, using my beat up heat gun. If it works, it does the job. So now that I know that it's pretty much hot, I'm gonna use this plastic adhesive from One Choice. Basically, I'm just gonna go real quick, just mist it around. I'm not gonna throw it too heavy, you know. Just make sure that it has another layer so my primer can stick. Remember, this is very important. So make sure you cover it. I like to mist it. I don't like it too heavy. And remember, you can't wait for this product to dry, because if it dries, the primer will not stick to anything. So make sure it's just like a couple seconds. Maybe you can probably feel around the tape if it's tacky or not. It's kind of tacky now. So I'm gonna start priming right now. I wanna keep away from this corner with a primer, so I'm gonna throw my primer this way. You know, I'm gonna work my way from the corner this way, because I don't want too much primer on the corners. I'm making sure that I'm covering the area that I sanded. This is my first layer, so yeah, continue. Nice patterns, not too heavy. So stay tuned for my finished product. So make sure you shake it really good. So remember, the primer is very important. You cannot paint over a surface that's not primed. The primer also acts like, think of this way. Imagine this is like when you're driving down the road and you see those potholes. And basically any imperfection with the sandpaper, with my job, the primer will act like a coverage. It will cover the imperfection, try to get it flat enough so once you paint it, it looks good. So yeah, I'm gonna continue to prime it, maybe 2 more coats, heavy now, and I will show you from a close-up how it looks. So basically, this is how it looks after I primed it. You can see it's pretty good. You can't see the crack anymore around that area. So what I'm gonna do now, once it dries, I'm gonna sand it down, and I'm gonna cover any pinholes that I find or any imperfections with some putty. So basically, this is the way I repair a cracked bumper. If you want to see how I paint this bumper and the final product of the bumper painted, make sure you subscribe for my next video. As I said, this is just a video of how I repair it. I think it came out pretty good, but if you want to see how I paint it, make sure you subscribe for the next video. Thanks and goodbye. You know.